All right, we are live on YouTube. I want to welcome everyone to the DevOps Online Meetup, our October meetup. I would like to welcome Eduardo Piero to the October edition of the DevOps Online Meetup. And just want to give everyone a heads up, just real quick. I will put in the chat, we're going to have a giveaway for DevOps for the Modern Enterprise. I'll show it here on the camera so you guys can see. But with that, Eduardo, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you introduce yourself to the people here at the DevOps Online Meetup.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me. So I have a slide for introducing myself. So I work as a operations director at Deep Insights, and in 2016 I founded the DevOps Porto user group. And I like especially talk about pipeline and organizations. So today the topic is learning to grow, and I would like to just a quick introduction to the topic. Basically, this presentation is a set of observations that I took note from my current company, this growing journey. So this is just a kind of story. It's not a recipe for success. So basically, it's so far what I learned so far. So I would like to start with the question: is why we, as a small company, as a startup company, why we need to grow? So I took the opportunity to make these questions to all very different people in the company, and I got different answers. So, but more revenue, more customers, or doing more projects to grow and get more employees in the company, more opportunities to make impact in the world. And other people also referred more problems to solve internally and externally. Also interesting was that the first reaction to this question was, I don't know. In fact, people to say that we shouldn't grow, because growing, it causes a lot of pain, and it causes a lot of discomfort. So a lot of unknown spots that we need to solve. But in that conversation, I did the second question. So what's the alternative of not growing? Do we have that option of not growing? And probably, most of the people recognize that if we don't grow, we will just simply disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this was a very interesting conversation, and that was what ignited this set of observations that I will share with you. So, assuming that we need to grow or we will disappear, I start to then I asked, when you grow up, if we grow up as a company, what you want to be when you grow up? And for the context of my company, we have three main roles: data science, software engineering, and operation engineering. So if I ask it to a data science, they will say, so I want to build good models, great models, smart models that will change the world. If I ask a software engineer, they will reply, I want to build fast applications, better applications never built before. If I ask an operations engineer, they will reply with build better systems, more resilient, more bigger systems, or scalable systems, and so on. But then I asked, what company you wish or you dream of this company would be? And I got the big names. Facebook, Google, AWS, Microsoft, and so on. Depending on each discipline, I get different answers. However, the interesting is this, I got the same answers when I start to explore the theme and ask it what company you wouldn't like to be in the future. So that was a very interesting conclusion, that I got the same answers for what you want to be and what you don't want to be. But this slide gives the best summary of this conversation in the three different disciplines. So what I found is people really enjoy to solve great problems, important problems. They need to feel they have are doing relevant work. So if meaning that if I'm doing a relevant work, that means that if I work in this way, my company will become relevant. So if I do a great work, I will help to create a great company. We hope that is true. So that was kind of a picture of different sides of the organization, what they feel, what the look of the future on their minds. So then we talk about how we pursue the dream of being a great company, of doing a great job, or great work. So the first thing that people asked was a purpose, and not just the purpose, but a purpose that goes beyond the obvious. Just go beyond making money, for example. So we need, in first place, the CEO needs to explain why he created the company, why we exist. After, in the startup, this answer tends to change over time. And probably that's life, that's the why we are a startup and not a big enterprise. We don't have yet a definitive answer to that. So that means we need to work, we need to grow, and we need to align all the organization toward the common purpose. So in other words, we need to align everything. If you think in the startup, you think a small group of people, it sounds like easy, right? So if you talk like 20, 30, 40, or 50 people, you send an email and that's it. This is our purpose, this is our goals. However, in fact, that is kind of easy. However, the backside is that purpose, because we change so fast that we will need to send that email every week or every month, let's say. So what we try to give kind of I wouldn't say alignment, but at least a discussion around alignment was using OKRs. So we started to check what OKRs can give to the company, and at least that give us so far a discussion about what we want to achieve when we grow up. The other part was, and also connects to the values, is also mentorship. So we use mentorship to let's say, to onboard people. That's the perfect time when we talk about our values. Mm-hmm. The values that we stood for, that we stand for, and the value that we want to generate to our customers. This is always a very interesting discussion, because we tend to discover, or at least update, the values list every time we get this discussion. And the other part, the value that we generate, we basically how basically is starting making questions to the customers. We can do customers interviews, or if we cannot have the customer at our side, we can make these questions to the business. So knowing the value that we supposed to build is very important, and it can give us the long-term philosophy can give us some clues about that, even in very different contexts like we have, because we deal with different projects. The big, let's say, the big aha moment for me was observing that we were kind of a Lego set. In the beginning, we were so few, like you have a small pieces, and every time you assemble pieces to our set, we get a different structure, different shape. So that means that we become a different company that before that person joined the company. Another way of changing the structure is to the same people, use the same people, but reorganize. Imagine that we promote someone because we need some leadership on the operations or engineering, and also that is a way of changing the structure. And this is a very, let's say, dynamic and also painful process. Why? If thinking on this changing the size, increasing the size and the structure, I start to think with a set of challenges. The first thing is hiring. Okay, how do we hire? First, we as a small team, basically we do it ourselves. So historically, the hiring process is handled by the team. But as everything in the life, things get serious, more complex, and we become more bigger. So we reach a moment we need some supervision from the people department. Supervision, especially in the way you communicate, and also the legal part. Because basically we had someone with more experience in the company, and we wrote the job ads, we published, we do the interviews. But when you need to grow, and you need to grow fast, you start thinking, how can we industrialize this? So that's where we reach the moment we decide to have someone to help us on that department. That is a perfect example of changing the structure. By hiring a people department, basically we change not only the number but also the structure. So every time we do that, we need to redefine the boundaries, and this is a situation that affects me more on the contraction side. So basically, the responsibilities, boundaries, contract or expand based on, for example, if we hire a new person, that person can have as a goal to release some activities or responsibilities from other person. But in the first stage, both of that persons will be kind of redundancy until they got the point where they agree, where one person starts and the other person stops. So that is the friction that I'm trying to represent here. Also, we have the opposite situation when we promote someone. If you promote someone, probably you will cover responsibilities and activities that were not being played by anyone or probably by very different people. So this process it tend to be very stressful and causing a lot of out of the comfort zone. And we need to think on this in the moment we hire someone. We need to prepare that person that in our environment that will happen, and probably it will take time until this stabilize. But this will always happen because when when we are small and growing, the newcomers have a huge impact. So this contraction expansion tends to happens a lot. And I know depending on the profile of each person, then this can cause more or less stress. And this friction can happen in very different levels, like on the organization level, top level, management, team, special on our context that we have to kind of deal with projects and products. So we tend to we try to get the best of the two worlds, but normally we got on this project versus product, we tend to deal with a lot of conflict between these two different approaches, and of course at individual level, because we have people that really enjoy to change what he was doing last week, but other people like to specialize, and for specialization we need some time and some stability for that person. And so while growing for the top management on the organizational level, the big challenge is the designing teams. So how we build teams. And the challenge is to achieve two opposite goals, like how can I get flexibility while getting stability. So in one way we want to answer fast because that's the project growth, and at the same time we want kind of stability because we don't want just to destroy every group or every team every time we just finish a project. So we kind of have our try is to kind of build an X team or a core team. So we try to build the core of two to three members, where that set of people tend to work together for long periods of time. And that core team should have data science, should have both disciplines, data science and software engineering. So we learned that the more time these disciplines are not working together, more we need to do in the more advanced steps or stages of the project. So also mentoring. Mentoring is a very important aspect in the company. But I don't know if it's because if it's a small one, or basically probably it's more motivated with our concern of not being built the correct culture around the company. So we try to, while we can, of course, I need to recognize that we will reach a size that mentoring will not be, I will not say possible, but it will be different what we have nowadays. So we have the first stage of onboarding, what we tend to call survival week, where the goal is to the newcomer to code something or do something that can achieve production on that week. And then we have the mentorship. The mentorship can start the onboarding if the same person, if the mentor is the same person that is doing the onboarding. But the mentorship program, it's our mechanism to build new mentors, because yeah, we need to grow, and we need to prepare the company to onboard newcomers. So that's the win-win situation. We teach, or we learn how to be mentors by mentoring, like, basically. And also, our strategy is to teach, or to share the way we work and propagate our values, the most recent values that we have. And of course, also, one of the most important goals of this mentorship program is to align the personal development goals from the newcomer, or the person, and the company purpose. So that's why mentorship is a big deal on our company. Of course, and also, besides of the mentorship, we recognize that we need to be a learning organization in order to grow and survive. So we establish a space, or a time, where we share what we learn. So we do this, like, we have this on our calendar, where anyone can suggest a presentation, a discussion, bring a guest, or just to share a project, or code project, or research project. So this is also, it's a way that we show, this is the way we send a message to the company that learning is part of the job. It's necessary to do what we do every day. And this is a very special slide that I call it "We Do Not Know." And all of that I talked so far, the mentoring, the hiring, most of the times the sentence "we don't know" or "I don't know," it comes because it's true. So we don't know a lot of stuff, and special for someone that have a leadership role, that can be scary. So we always have the concern: if I don't know, am I a good leader, or should I know it because I'm a leader? So it requires a great deal of humility and courage to do this. But we found that, and of course, this comes from example from CEO, CTO, and so on. So we got on the state where the unknown, or not knowing, or the wrong answer only is the default state. And it's very interesting, because that helps to manage even our relation with the customers. We found out that putting on paper things that we don't know, or probably just get very creative, or not recognizing that we don't know, normally it's do us more harm than we was expecting. So not knowing is not such a big deal, because we need to balance this with, we are a learning company. So we always start with the unknown state for the less unknown state, and that's the next step. So basically, we recognize that we don't know, and we try to just figure out what should be the next step. And this sentence I took from Kanban, where they say start with what we know. And the result for this happens, we need to provide autonomy and require accountability from the teams. So teams can define, or can, let's say, guess the next step, and take that decision and learn something from that. Sometimes the learning it's easy, or it's you have some pleasure on doing it. Sometimes you get pain on the process. So we prefer a bad decision than a no decision, as long we can learn something. And for example, we implemented postmortems for the projects, or in the end of each project, we do a postmortem, what happened, what we learned, what could be improved. We do for incidents, or incidents, so that is more straightforward or more standard. And we want to implement in the future to do postmortems, for example, for proposals that our customers doesn't accept. So why our proposal wasn't accepted. So basically, it's try to reinforce the learning mechanism. Of course, not knowing just puts more importance over leadership. So even that, we try it. We are on the stage that we try to fix the problem of having a super leader. So when you are small and you start to grow, it's natural that you get someone that becomes the super leader that makes all the decisions. However, this model doesn't scale, and we quickly learn the buzz factor. So we try to change the way we see leadership, or rephrase it, the way we want to see leadership. So the idealization will be self-organizing. I put the self-organizing because I don't know in what terms that, because we have self-organization in different levels. So the idea is that the team needs to find the best kind of leadership that allows the team to reply to the expectations that the business will bring to them. So it can be a person, can be transient. So that means can rotate for different people, can be multiple people, but that in fact this self-organizing teams is not new, right? What's new is that we want the team to tell us what the best way. So and then we need to support them with a purpose, with direction, with some structure, some principles, and the rituals. That's something they can set up. But we don't decide at the management level. We don't decide who is the leader. We don't set up the leadership. And of course, this approach, to support this approach, we would like to build our own leadership, grow our leaders from within. However, this is very hard to have this and the need of growing quickly. So sometimes we have to hire someone for leadership roles. And again, that's where the mentorship is very important. So, of course, the default, what we would like is to grow leaders from within, but when we can't, we need to take care, we need to hire and onboard that person with mentorship. And we would like, or we see the leaders like gardeners, and this, especially for me, it's being very hard to do this because it's really hard. So basically, instead of focus on let's use the chess game, instead of focus of niche piece, we need to focus on the board, on the movements, on the ecosystem. And this is hard because when you by default you think like leadership in terms of control, but in fact it's leadership. We need to step out, make fewer decisions, but instead of control, we need to start measure the quality and of the decisions. So that's why I say, for me, especially from my experience, is it's very hard to leading and fighting this concern of I'm losing control. It's not the feeling is that, but the goal is to make few decisions, and so I can focus on different things. Okay, so I will like you. We are already ending the time, so I would like to leave you a final thought on this that a friend of mine shared with me while we are discussing all of these topics. Is that in good times we should define what not to do, and on bad times we should define what to do. And this being very useful for me. For example, when some server or some incident that means the service is down, we need to know what to do. And in the good times where the sea is calm and the sun is shining, we need to define what not to do just to keep an healthy culture. So,
very good. Well,
that's it.
thank you so much, Eduardo. We appreciate your time and you joining us today. And looks like those are some good resources there if people have connect or questions for you to reach out. So thank you so much, Eduardo. Appreciate your time.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And want to let everyone know we will have another DevOps online meetup coming up soon. So we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone.